Good morning, everybody. We are going to start this session on Space to AIDS. And so, a warm greetings from Aura University. Myself, Veena Vaishya. I hope you all are healthy, happy, and safe. So, on behalf of Aura University, I welcome you all for today's webinar to Space to AIDS, an inclusive, rational approach by our guest, Mrs. Gauri Hirve Nilkantan. So, adolescence is a crucial period for developing and maintaining social and emotional habits which are important for mental well being. Globally, depression is the fourth leading cause of illness and disability among the adolescents that is aged 15 to 19 years. Anxiety is the ninth leading cause for adolescents, for becoming the psychologically impact on the age group of between 10 to 14. So, in the present situation, prolonged home confinement due to COVID lockdown has not been in anyone's wildest dreams. However, it has become a reality and it is going to continue at least with some ease. A more important but easily neglected issue is the psychological impact on children and adolescents. So, we as educationists, we as stakeholders have a large role to play in getting the children successfully past the situation and make them competent to adapt to the newer ways of life. To help us in taking care of this young generation, we have within us today Mrs. Gauri Hirve Nilkantan, founder of Being and Becoming. She is a psychotherapist, special educator, and corporate trainer. She has changed many lives with her expertise in adolescent engagement programs, which involves life skill development, social skills development, behavior intervention, parents training programs. She has been a motivator for children with special needs. Her intervention has helped many children to brighten up in spite of their ability to learn differently with the customized IEP, that is Individualized Education Plan, and also training teachers across the boards about inclusive education. She has also conducted several workshops on POCSO Act and many more on self-personality development programs in more than 10 schools. She has been actively involved in many corporate sectors with the aim of assisting employees towards holistic success in their lives. So now, I would like Mrs. Gauri to please enlighten us with her valuable thoughts. So, ma'am, over to you. And we have very good interested participants with us across, I can say not only just Surat, but across India. So over to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much. So good morning and thank you all for being here this morning. My gratitude to Aura University, the Vice Chancellor, Dr. Rajan Velukar, the Dean, Dr. Rohit Singh, and our host for today, Ms. Veena Vaishya. Thank you so much for having me here. It's an honor and a pleasure to be addressing the adolescent population today out here. I'm aware that today we have a very mixed kind of an audience, but I will be addressing my adolescent friends primarily because I think they are no longer kids and they have their independent identity and can take charge of their lives. In fact, they have proved it to us during the lockdown period by being our emotional support, by helping us manage our household chores, how well they have learned to wait and slow down, how well they have learned to handle disappointment, how to handle small emergencies, to cook in case of emergency, self-care, caregiving, empathize, and they have really become independent.
Go out more.
With 3 months having to stay inside.
3 months is a long time, and I do miss my friends, and I do miss going out.
I'm not being able to see my friends, I'm not being able to go to college, not being able...
Hey.
Hi.
My name is Carter. I'm 16 years old.
How are you surviving the lockdown?
I'm surviving pretty well.
And what's the worst bit about this? I think just the whole concept that I can't go out. It's knowing that you can't go out makes you want to go out more.
I don't know that I would be able to cope with 3 months having to stay inside.
3 months is a long time, and I do miss my friends, and I do miss going out.
I'm not being able to see my friends, I'm not being able to go to college, not being able to see my family. It's just lonely.
I FaceTime my friends nearly every day to just keep in contact, and it's just nice to have something to do that's more social.
I will eventually start missing human interaction with, as much as I did before.
I will try and do as much coursework as I can. Other than that, I will be playing video games with my friends.
Between work and friends, I'm on it most of the time. But I'm also making sure to go out in the garden and do some walking.
I've done a lot of exercise because that's my chance to kind of maintain normal everyday routine that I would do outside of lockdown.
Before all of this, I had a part-time job, and because obviously the job hasn't been employed, I have lost it.
It's kind of weird because it's the first time I've never wanted a holiday before. I actually just would rather be doing work.
I mean, I was saving up for driving lessons, so it kind of put me back a bit.
So what are you missing the most?
Oh, my girl.
So coming back to, so I am sure that the kids could relate to what they just saw, even though it was a very short video. 24th March 2020 has become a historic day for all of us. It changed lives for us. And dear children, if I ask you to describe the entire lockdown period in just one day, what would it be? Can you type it in the chat box? Just one word to describe the entire lockdown period. Veena, will be able to see?
Yes, ma'am. Let them write. I can see then. I will share it with you.
Yeah. Or you can read out a couple of words.
Sure. No problem. So I would just like the attendees, if they can just mention their responses in the chat box, or else in the Q&A. So we will be able to access it and we can share it with the speaker.
Yes, because I don't think I have access to the chat.
No problem. So we have challenging as far as technology is concerned, being a teacher above 50, discovering oneself.
Okay.
So this is what they have written. 2 things.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So we have got by now we have got 2.
Okay.
So maybe others are writing. So I'll post it to you, ma'am.
Yes. So I want the children to type. How is this entire lockdown period, if they have to describe it in just one single word, what would they say about it?
This period teaches a lot. So Dipali has said this period teaches us a lot.
Okay, that's nice.
Yes, and as I said before, Govil S has said that discovering oneself is something that they have learned in this lockdown.
Okay.
Yeah, so as of now we have one. So Jill Shah has said that lazy but sometimes fun.
Okay.
And Madhuri Bapat has said that space bound.
Okay.
So we have these many. Okay, show patience.
Okay.
Bhavya
So
Panchal has said that show patience.
Yeah, I would request our key audience, that is the adolescent, the teenagers, to be more proactive in responding, so that it's more of an interactive session and not like me talking and you listening. You'll get bored in some time if you do that, or rather if you don't interact. Right. So as the pandemic sweeps over the world, the concern, the stress, the fears, the anxiety are all natural and normal reactions. So when lockdown 1 was announced, I'm sure none of us had imagined the gravity of the situation. And then from lockdown 1 to lockdown 2 to lockdown 3, now we are at lockdown 4, and still we are not sure whether it's going to be lockdown 5 or not. Right? And that is when the boredom, the anxiety has started setting in. The issue facing each and every one of us in the current uncertain times is, how do we manage and react to this unprecedented time? So do you agree to what I'm saying? Is that a major concern across all age groups? Veena?
Yes, yeah. They're responding. People are saying yes.
Yes.
Shah has said yes.
Yes. And in the past 2 months, in fact, to be precise, 9 weeks, I have been talking to people from different age groups, and each of them are experiencing different set of challenges. The elderly population is obviously worried about death, considering their age, their low immunity, and comorbidity. To add to all this, there is a profound sense of loss among all age groups. A sudden loss of structure and loss of social contact has upset people. In addition to this, our generation is also trying to cope with new routine of work from home, plus financial insecurity, concerns about health of the entire family, other responsibilities, unfinished goals, and the list would just be endless. But the impact of COVID-19 crisis on children's mental health is something different. It's beyond comprehension. It's enormous. Children are likely to be experiencing emotions very similar to those experienced by adults. They are equally susceptible to worry, anxiety, and fear. The sad part is that they are not able to express as much and as much as we can. That's the only concern. But they are equally susceptible. If schools have closed as a part of necessary measures, then children are no longer having that sense of structure, no routine, no stimulation that is provided by the environment, by the school. And all this reduces the opportunity to be with friends, to get social support, which is of paramount importance to, in fact, all of us, but more for the children. All this is creating more challenging times for them. Both young and older children are bored of being confined to home. The younger ones are full of energy. They don't know what to do with their energy. We as adults are depleting of energy, so we can't pace up with their energy, and they can't move out. They can't indulge into real play, no friends to meet. Under such circumstances, they may express irritability and anger. For the older children, I must say that a lot of children were expecting recruitment jobs this year. A lot of children were expecting to go abroad for their education. Everything has come to a standstill. So we have to be a little empathetic towards them. We have to be a little sensitive towards them, and take them on a lighter note if they are getting angry, agitated sometimes. Children may want to be closer to their parents just because they are, we think that if children are angry and irritated, they might go away from us. It's the other way around. When they're angry and irritated, they might, want to come closer to us, and have more demands on us. So primarily because they don't know how to emote and how to deal with whatever they're experiencing. And this in itself might create added pressure on some parents or caregivers who themselves may be under undue pressure, as we suddenly have lost agency over our lives and our future, right? So the situation is pretty complex. It is not easy, not for the children and not for us as well. But then the whole crux of today's program, the whole crux of progressing, growing, is how to deal with the situation in a very positive manner, and how to make the best out of whatever lemons that life is throwing at us. I think this again video link has come. I'll go to the next slide. Yes. So looking at challenges and reality, that we just spoke about, there are also psychological and social impact on society. So psychological and social problems, particularly involving social behavior, are shooting up. So as a counseling psychologist, when parents call me, or whenever there are webinars, when parents speak to me, they are only talking about how unreasonable the behavior of children has become, and how difficult it is to cope up with work, office, the tantrums that the children are throwing, or more rather, They talk about the excessive screen time that the children are indulging into, and all this is again upsetting and disturbing the parents, right? So social distancing, which is currently dominating our daily lives, is causing unique mental health needs. And having said that, I would also like to say that the reactions to this crisis is very subjective and may vary from one person to another. I have seen myself in a family of 3. We 3 respond differently to this crisis, right? So in that small database of 3, if I can see 3 of us responding differently, imagine in crores of people, how much of variation there will be. And the question is, why are some people more affected than the others? My favorite sentence is, why are some people able to make lemonade when life is throwing lemons at them? And why are others not able to do that? Okay, so let's, set our minds, set our brains thinking about all these things as we progress into our session. Okay, so now looking at the screen. What is the screen talking about? The screen is talking about my perception of reality. And if we can see the screen, we have some boxes which starts from reality, passes to senses, passes to filters, and then there is a map, right? And it says that reality is not equal to map because reality is passing through all these filters. So this particular slide talks about our mental makeup, and it talks about why some people are able to make lemonade when life is throwing lemons at them, why some people are more chilled out than the others, why some people are a little more anxious than the others. So reality and perception of reality basically are 2 different concepts, totally apart from each other. They're 2 different concepts. Reality, and this is particularly based on, how we process information. As the slide also shows, that how we are processing information talks about the difference between reality and perception of reality. Now, reality keeps changing at every stage, as we have seen, as it goes from one stage to another. It goes through physical constraints, when it goes through the senses, it goes through perceptual constraints, it goes through cognitive constraints, and also through environmental constraints. Environmental constraints are basically the belief system, what we've raised with. So all those constraints put together, and whatever remains actually has nothing got to do with the actual reality, because it is totally distorted, it is totally changed, right? Now, this particular part of the reality which reaches us through all these filters is stored by me as my map of reality, as my perception of reality, right? Now, what is important is how I determine what is getting deleted. That is very important. That is what I talk about introspection, looking within to identify what am I deleting and what am I highlighting. Extremely important point for us to, manage this kind of a crucial situation. Sadly, what happens is I respond, rather react. We rarely respond, we rather react to my perception of reality and not my reality, right? I'm going to take you to my next slide, which is a case study. And it says, if I want all of you to think about it. So the case study is a visual observation. I did not put the picture. You're supposed to visualize it. Person A is pushing person B. Could you again put it in the chat window? If you see person A pushing person B, what is the first thought as an onlooker? As a bystander, if you are at a different position and you're watching person A pushing person B, what is the first thought that would come to your mind? Could you just put it in the chat window to make it interactive?
Yes, so we have, maybe he's helping that person to achieve something.
Great.
Then Mamta Kholia says that will not react. Sujata
Okay.
Kumar says that try to stop the person A. Meghavi says that fight or revenge. Again, Mamta says that, as I'm not involved
As I'm not involved,
in the situation,
so I
then
will not.
so there would be no reaction as per
So no
her
reaction.
first response is concerned.
Okay. Okay.
Then Anita Yadav says that we'll try to find out why. Okay.
Okay, great.
And
Okay.
then somebody said that some reason behind that. So there would be some reason behind that.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. So I have a bunch of people who are really, they believe in thinking through. Great, I'm really happy. But most of the times what happens is when you see person A pushing person B, you assume that person A is probably the bully, or person A is into some kind of an activity which person A is not supposed to be. And this is a very, very common thing which happens many a times with siblings. The naughty one, he does something to the other one, and mama catches the other one, and the other one gets the scolding. Does it happen, Veena? Does it happen sometimes?
Yes, absolutely, every time.
Yes, it happens sometimes, right? But the responses were very balanced and very nice. So thank you so much. So every time, so this is what we talk about reality and perception of reality. We tend to believe what we see in the first instance. And as I already spoke in the previous slide, it goes, information or reality goes through those various layers, and what reaches us is a perception of reality. Now, what happens is, because of the distortion, this particular image, which has become part of my imagery, my mental map, sticks onto me. And that becomes again a limitation or a limiting factor, another filter for my next experience some other time. Am I making sense? So whatever I'm trying to say, that whatever has become my map of reality now, after all this filters, that sticks on to me as my reality and becomes part of the environmental constraint while I am looking at some other example or some other situation the next time, right? So every time you think that there is a problem, okay, when you feel that I'm in a difficulty or there is a problem, just ask yourself one single question. Is the problem real, or is it my perception of reality? And you may be surprised, friends, to know that just asking that one question can make a lot of positive difference to your life. Just one question. Is my problem real, or is it a perception of the reality? Let's go to the next slide. Yes. Hence, the goal is to add to our knowledge about what is happening at present within ourselves and the community we belong, and to ensure continued learning from experience. So this is the goal of today's session, as to understand, learn and understand what the present situation is and how we can cope with it very effectively. Okay. Right. So this slide talks about our journey from the comfort zone to the growth zone, right? And in our journey from the comfort zone to the growth zone, here we take a moment and go through all these stages or all these experiences, to find out where are we. So are we in the place where you feel safe and in control, where we are affected by others' opinions, where we are finding excuses, where we are lacking self-confidence, where we are dealing with new challenges and problems, where we are gaining new skills and experiences? Are we at the place where we are expanding our comfort zones? Are we achieving our objectives? Are we setting new goals? Are we finding our potentials? Are we making our dreams a reality? Are we feeling self-confident? And are we believing in ourselves? I want all of you to take a moment and just think about your own self as to where are we? Are we in the comfort zone? Are we in the fear zone? Are we in the learning zone? Or are we in the growth zone? I just want you to go through all these for a moment and think where you are actually in the current moment.
So we have a response, Gauri ma'am.
Okay.
It's a learning zone. Madhuri Bapat has said that she is in the learning zone.
Okay, great.
Yes.
Okay. So I guess others have also identified
Yes.
where they are currently, right? I think comfort zone was a place wherein we were in lockdown 1.0. I think we have moved on. Definitely we have moved on from the comfort zone. And majority of us, I think, have reached the learning zone, and now it's a small path towards the growth zone. So I think we should be motivated to cross the learning zone as well and reach the growth zone. It's I feel this entire journey from one zone to another, from the comfort to the fear to the learning to the growth, is all about attitude. And it's all about attitude. It's all about how to stay rational in this irrational situation. One most important thing that would probably help us to stay in our sanity and to beautifully progress from one zone to another are a couple of facts. So basically three major facts, three major aspects. One is that the mortality rate of COVID-19 patients is very low, and if we take necessary precautions, we can minimize it further. Second is that we can't say fortunately, but unfortunately though, but we are not alone in this battle. We are all affected by the pandemic, right? And the third and the most important one, and the most encouraging one, is that this particular situation is not going to last forever. It's going to end someday. This too shall pass. And moreover, if we decide, we can find ways to stay motivated even in a highly restricted environment. And fortunately for us, we have our rock solid support from our parents and caregivers. But still, because I'm talking to adolescent population today, and the introduction that I spoke about adolescents, I personally feel that the onus of change lies purely with us. I don't treat adolescents anymore like kids. They are almost grown-ups and almost adults. So I think the responsibility of our growth and our betterment should be completely our responsibility. Nevertheless, we have a great support system because we resonate, we belong to the Indian culture. So parents, even at the age of 50, parents are always by our side. So we have great support system, but still our life is ours and we should take complete responsibility of our life. Okay, so what I just spoke about is self, something that we should take responsibility of ourselves. Okay, Now, what we see here on the slide is stages. Stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, stage 4, stage 5. So stage 1 talks about disbelief, stage 2 talks about anger, stage 3 talks about sadness, stage 4 talks about acceptance, and stage 5 talks about optimism. Can any of us, see any similarity between these stages and currently what is happening in our life? Can any of us resonate with what we are seeing on the screen? Yes or no? A Y or N also would do.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, so people are responding with yes.
It's yes. So people are responding a yes. Am I loud and clear?
Yes, ma'am, you are absolutely fine.
Okay. Okay. Right. So any catastrophe for that matter, and I think currently in a situation which we are, we cannot claim it to be a happy situation. So any catastrophe that, would generally pass through these stages. And sooner we move from one stage to another, helps us to recover faster and reach the growth zone. Else, we would be fixated to one particular zone, probably the comfort zone or the fear zone, right? Now, the stage 1, the disbelief. Okay, the disbelief, whenever something hits us, be it a trauma or a catastrophe or something, okay, so let's move ahead. Something, as terrible as death, something like that hits us. Okay, what first happens is stage 1, the disbelief. The first emotion that we normally experience is disbelief. And that is, this, has it actually happened? No, I don't want to believe it. Maybe it has not. Okay, so I think we all have quite settled in this stage and we all believe that what is happening is happening. Right? We are no longer in that disbelief stage. We've left it long back. The second stage, so once we are out of the disbelief stage, we hit the stage 2, which is the anger. We start getting angry with whatever we have believed. Okay, so until the time we were in disbelief, I didn't want to believe. So there was no question of getting angry. Now that I have believed it, I know it is, so I'm getting angry. Now, in the stage 2, anger is normally about loss of normalcy. Okay, it is not getting angry with the mother or the father, it is getting angry with the situation. So normalcy and sudden upheaval imposed on us by the coronavirus crisis, ye mat karo, wo mat karo, yahan mat jao, niche mat utro, right? So all these things, it's important to resign to anger, to be able to move to an acceptance phase of this situation. Unless you accept this stage, you will not be able to move ahead. Okay, there are a lot of things which can help us come out of this anger stage. We could chat with our neighbors at social distance. Of course, we could chat with our neighbors. We could just share what we did throughout the day. We could have video chats with our friends, with our relatives, to feel a sense of togetherness. And this is beneficial for mental health. A small note for parents is that when our children are having some, Zoom calls with their friends, I think we should respect their privacy and allow them some time, because they too need to emote and they too need to share whatever they feel like with their friends, which probably they may not be able to or may not be comfortable, sharing with us. We know we can't fix this particular problem. We can't cure coronavirus, but we can form new connections that we can carry into the future. And that thought of, bonding, togetherness, being appreciated, being loved, being cared, being acknowledged, being validated, all these aspects go a long way, a very long way to cool our anger, to stabilize us, to make us feel emotionally stronger, to make us feel better. Once we are out of the anger, the entire steam is released. But now what happens is, whistle is out. But now what happens is, we are sad. We are no more angry, but we are sad. why is it happening to my life? Why did it happen to India? What if it wouldn't have happened? Why is this, what do we do with this, etc., etc., etc. So sadness will sink in. It's normal to feel sad and other negative emotions during this time. And we must accept that pain can grip us at any stage in our lockdown journey. So it is not that if pain hit me in lockdown 1, or it can hit me anytime. Lockdown 1, lockdown 2, lockdown 3 was perfectly fine. But now in lockdown 4, I'm feeling the pain. Quite possible. So it can hit us at any point of time. Right? And, one most important thing that I notice among teenagers is that they don't take crying well. They don't take tears well. I have seen so many teenagers teasing others, if someone tears up. So I would specifically like to tell the teenagers this one thing, that tears should not be seen as a sign of weakness. And rather, it should be appreciated without any judgment. It's absolutely okay to emote. It's absolutely okay to show what one feels, right? Moreover, I personally feel that it is tearing up, crying is a very natural reaction. And we need to notice more of the negative emotions that we are experiencing. We need to be talking more about them to our loved ones without any judgment or shame. And remember one thing, that be it small or big or young or old, we all are experiencing this, and everything we feel is normal and justified, because this is a very unprecedented time. We have never gone through this before. We are not prepared for this. So there's nothing wrong in anything whatsoever. Once we are out of the state of sadness, we come to the stage of acceptance. Now if you divide this particular chart or map or whatever into half, you will see that the stages to my left, okay, are the difficult ones, or the stages in which we should be in the minimum time. And the stages to my right, that is stage 4 and stage 5, are the goal of this session. So these are the stages wherein ideally we should be in to have a much healthier mental health and physical health as well. So when anger dissolves, what happens is we accept the reality of our situation and we create new routines to give us a sense of energy and purpose. I have seen a lot of children in lockdown 1, they would wake up at any point of time, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, sometimes 12 o'clock. Later, they realized it for themselves that this is not helping, or, maybe they're feeling groggy all through the day, or, their friends are already up and doing a lot of things and they're missing out, whatever. But then from lockdown 3.0, the same set of people have, told me that, no ma'am, I wake up by 7:30, latest by 8 o'clock, right? So we have also realized how the routine is helping us in some way or the other, right? And routine definitely gives us a sense of energy and a sense of purpose. Acceptance is how much ever I listen to Sadhguru or how much ever I listen to motivational speeches, acceptance is something that just arrives, okay? You wake up one day and you have accepted the reality. It's that way, right? And being stuck in anger certainly blocks you from reaching a point of acceptance. But you can't force yourself into it before you are ready. That is equally a fact. Creating new routines and structure of certainty definitely will give us a sense of energy and purpose. So if we are still struggling to come into the acceptance stage, I think we are miserably lacking routine. We should get on to routine, okay? Apart from that, develop a hobby. We always complain that with school and tuitions and classes and travel and stuff like that, I hardly get time to pursue my hobby. We have ample time now. We have a lot of time. We have a lot of classes that happen online, right from Zumba to music to dance to yoga, name it, and everything is there online. Okay, so get on to a hobby, learn some instrument, play some instrument, master a new language, or learn to cook. By doing all these things, what will happen is your mind will get focused on positive changes which have emerged out of this current situation. This is how we can make lemonade when life is throwing lemons at us, right? And the fifth stage, which is the best stage to be in, this stage can be related to the growth zone. Okay, so the stage is called optimism, stage 5, optimism. So hope and optimism is something that we thrive on. Okay, we are here, we are surviving because of hope and optimism. It is the final stage, but it is the most beneficial stage where we develop new skills and develop solutions to the challenges of life under lockdown. Right? We learn to move ahead, we learn to move on, to let go of whatever has happened, move on. Optimism is something that allows us to look at life differently and view sudden changes as challenges to overcome rather than impossible stumbling blocks. So I learn out of my mistakes. Okay, and not that, but I have done a mistake and I'm no good. No, that's not optimism, right? Now what we do is, now we start thinking about, in this particular optimism phase, the stage 5, now what we do is we start thinking about the positives brought about by this crisis. Things like spending more time at home with family, being ready for bigger milestones in our life. And we are doing things that we haven't done for years. How many of us had baked a bread? How many of us had baked a cake? But we're doing all those things now. And that's because we are all confined to home. Veena, how much time more?
We have 15 minutes more.
Okay.
So because we already have a lot of questions, in our Q&A section, and also beforehand, before the session started.
Okay. So, okay, just a suggestion, because I'm just midway of the presentation. I have some 7-8 slides more to go.
Sure.
So we'll try to minimize the question and answers, and I can probably reply them on the email. Is that okay? Or I should reduce the slides and answer the question and answers?
Ma'am, we do have 10 minutes buffer. We can use that buffer.
Cool.
So I would suggest if you can just continue with the PPT,
Okay.
and we will be considering the questions also.
Cool.
Okay.
Right. Okay. So apart from the techniques which I just spoke about, we have something which is set a happy space, make a visual board, gratitude journal. So I'll just quickly talk about each of these. So basically all these 3 are visual techniques. Visual techniques are always easy for us to follow, and the impact of visual techniques is larger, wider, and we get results also quickly. I have seen children actually, making their happy space in the, in the box of the window with their pillow, with their a little matting there, with a couple of, their favorite books, their favorite tea, coffee, or some juice or something, So basically, whenever you feel anxious, whenever you feel, you feel low, that is the place which you have made by your own hands. You have set it up by yourself. You just go there and you feel happy. There may be a lot of parents here who have younger kids, maybe 9, 10, 11, who might completely, connect with whatever I'm saying, because it more happens in that age. But age is no bar. Even we can have our happy space, in some corner of the house with 1 cup of coffee can be our happy space. Make a vision board. Now that we have so much time at hand, we have, access to the internet, we have access to the printer. What we can do is we can think about what we want to be in life. We can vision our future, and we can, Google up those images. We can have those images printed. We can cut them, and we can just stick it on a vision board. If you need more ideas on what a vision board is, I think Google is our best friend. Google can show you even images of how vision board looks like, but we should make a vision board. What happens with the vision board is that, those pictorial images, those images have a deep impact on our subconscious mind. And with a constant viewing of the vision board, the subconscious mind starts believing in the vision, and somehow we feel that we are motivated, and that becomes our goal, and we are motivated to, accomplish our vision. Gratitude journal is something that I would highly recommend for all of us. Gratitude journal basically talks about journaling, writing every little good thing that has happened throughout the day, every little good thing that we have experienced, that we have to be grateful to somebody or the other. Maybe to the bhaji wala who supplied us with fresh vegetables, the bread wala who supplied us with fresh bread, and stuff like that. So every little thing. So if we have this gratitude journal as a habit, every night before we go off to bed, we have a family writing the gratitude journal. It has enormous positive effects. I'm going to rush up because Veena has asked me to rush up. Okay. So habits. Habits talks about if you always do what you always did, you will always get what you always got. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? Yes? Okay. Right. This is a beautiful technique, the mind muscle. Okay. I'm going to talk a little bit about the mind muscle, which is the healthy mental diet. All of us know about health, right? The physical health, which all of us talk about, right? Mostly, in this period of time, we all are taking care of our physical health. So we are eating healthy, we are staying clean, we are staying safe, we're washing our hands every now and then, right? All that is something that we're doing. Now, when it comes to a mental diet, the concept is the same. The concept is we have to take in things which are healthy, things which are positive, things which are encouraging, things which are good. Affirmations are something that I always ask my students to reiterate. So affirmations are basically I statements that positive statements about self, I believe in myself, or I learn from my mistakes, or I'm going to work really hard to achieve my goals. I'm going to be happy. I'm going to stay happy. Okay. So all these are affirmations, they're positive self-talk. And I would, suggest as a healthy mental diet that we need to make these affirmations, this positive self-talk, as a lifestyle, right? And then what happens? In spite of all this, if I get into a mode where, it's not that if I am, constantly bombarding myself with affirmations, I will never feel low. I will never feel depressed. I will never get into an emotional state which is, challenging. Aisa kuch nahi hai. I might get into an emotional state which is challenging, which is upsetting. What do I do then? I just have to do something which breaks the cycle of thoughts. Either I just go to the balcony and water the plants, or just loosen up the soil. So something that interests you. So I'm too fond of gardening. So what I would do is I would just take something and I would just loosen up the soil. And what happens is the cycle of thoughts, the negative thoughts, is just broken. Right? We all must have heard people saying that, I will tell it to you tomorrow morning. Let me just sleep over it and I will tell it to you. I will respond to you tomorrow morning. Or if you get some kind of challenging mail or a message the previous night, what do? Do you reply immediately? You say, no, wait, tomorrow morning. So what are we basically doing? We are trying to change our emotional state to the next day where we are more balanced compared to now, and then so that our responses are much balanced. So what are we supposed to do under the mental health, a healthy mental diet? We are supposed to identify our internal state. I'm supposed to identify that now, because of this particular SMS that I have read or this particular mail that I have read, my internal state is disturbed. So what do I do now? I break that disturbed internal state, get into a better state. And how do I do that? By self-talk, one, or just changing my environment by doing something that interests me. Right? Okay. I go to the next slide. Exercise is something that is absolutely, crucial, mandatory, unavoidable part of especially the lockdown period. Primarily because exercise helps us in many ways. One is that it helps us by releasing endorphins and serotonin. These are, the happy hormones, the oxytocins in the brain, and they are mood changers. Number one. Second is that they keep us going, right? Third is because we are working out, we're doing some physical activity, we get a good sound sleep in the evening, and the overall health is better. So exercise is something that we all should do. On the brighter side of this lockdown, we are almost saving. So people who travel to Mumbai or travel to Navi Mumbai, net, I think we are saving almost 3 to 4 hours a day. Barring the work which our house help was doing, which we are doing currently, barring those 2.5 hours, still I think we should be able to manage 30 to 35 minutes of time for ourselves, right? So that can be our happy space so that we can be better equipped to deal with this particular situation. Routine. Yes. So children, this slide is basically for you guys, so that, I thought you must have got bored by the black and white screens. So one colorful screen. So I'll tell you a story of this auntie. So what this auntie did was, when the lockdown started, she started binge watching on Netflix and Hotstar and Amazon Prime and name it. And she had watched all the serials, all the web series she had watched. And as a result, what she would do, when everybody was asleep, she was watching. And after she had finished watching, in the middle of the night, she would keep thinking about the characters, the story plot, what would happen next, etc., and have sleepless nights. She would go off to sleep very late at night, and mornings would be groggy, and whole day would be unenergetic until when? Until when she realized that her routine needs to be set. She needs to get back to her sleep hygiene. And then what she did was, she divided her day into good equal time slots, wherein she gave some amount of time, or rather equal amount of time to work, equal amount of time to watching her favorite web series, equal amount of time for household work, equal amount of time for her work from home, and so on and so forth. And then when the routine came back on track, this auntie was happy. Motivation. Yes. So motivation is something that, I really love to talk about, but we have time constraint. So I'll just speak very little about it. Talking to you about motivation, as I have constantly been repeating things like, adolescents or teenagers are not kids anymore, right? And hence, we cannot depend much on our parents or our friends or our grandparents to motivate us. We need to be self-motivating, right? Now today, if I feel when I sleep tonight, if I tell myself, oh, tomorrow is as boring as today, nothing to do, nothing to look forward to, how boring. Will, in this kind of a mental frame, will I be ever able to wake up with that energy and say, yay, wake up, I have to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, I will never be able to do that. So the previous night, the internal dialogue or the thought with which I sleep makes my next day. I personally, plan for 5 things that I want to do the next day, and then I go off to bed. And believe me, when I wake up in the morning, I really feel better. I really feel charged up. I really start planning that, I have to do these 5 things. So how do I plan? Before meals, after meals, between the webinar, before the webinar, between the webinar, I'm so sorry, before the webinar, after the webinar. And that is how, it motivates us to be brisk, to be energetic, to be active. And that is the mantra for motivation, self-motivation. Another beautiful technique is the worry window, the worry window journal. It's very natural, as we have been talking about this situation. It's very, very natural to, to worry about the future, what is going to happen, so uncertain, we do not know what is going to happen. But if I constantly keep thinking about, or rather keep worrying, I will reach a point wherein the worry will start worrying me, that why am I worrying so much? Initially it was just worry, now it is worry to the power of worry. Okay, so I will start thinking about worry. Now, to avoid myself from reaching that particular zone where worry to the power of worry, what I do is I tell myself, okay, I'm not going to stop myself from worrying, because the more I stop myself, it will, bounce back more. So I tell myself, okay, so 2 o'clock to 2:15 is my worry time. Okay, post lunch, 2 to 2:15, I'm going to worry as much as I want, and not before that and not after that. So I'm going to tell myself. Now, before 2 o'clock, if worry starts worrying me, what do I tell myself? Stop, my worry window is 2 o'clock, so I will worry at that time. And it might so happen that at 2 o'clock, you will be so engaged or so preoccupied with something so interesting that you may actually not feel like worrying. You might say, oh, forget the worry, I'm doing something which is so energizing, right? And then 2:15, and beyond 2:15, again, when you start worrying, you tell yourself, oh, my window is over, it's shut. Now, if I have to worry, I will worry the next day. So this is how you train your brain to worry only in a small window. And what happens is, once you start pushing this worry away, the brain understands that worry is no longer important for you, and automatically the thoughts of worry keep diminishing, keep fading off. Veena?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. 3 more slides.
Yes, sure. Carry on, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you. Yes. Out of the 22 slides, I have, very, forcefully, I have given 3 slides to parents. Primarily because, as I said, that, I personally feel that adolescents, teenagers are not kids anymore. They have their individuality, they have their identity, they're mature, and in fact, they've become more mature, and they have been able to connect with us emotionally. They have been able to help us in so many things which, we always considered them to be small and incapable of. They have been doing all those things. So I think, maintaining a healthy state of mind and having balanced thoughts, having positive thoughts, having balanced decisions are all in their scope of thought, feeling, and behavior. Nevertheless, parents, because we are parents, we always want to be part of their lives. We can be of little help to them. So I'll just tell you what we can do. There will be times when children will be overwhelmed, anxious. They will have their little fears, their big worries, and they might want to just share it with someone. And someone is you. Okay, you are the blessed one with whom kids or children are, wanting to share. Okay, so what best you can do is to listen to them, give them a good listening ear. Okay, where you attend to them, you listen to them, you don't judge them, you just plain unconditionally you listen to them. Try to understand whatever they're trying to say without any judgments, without any preoccupation. Just understand what they're trying to say. Acknowledge them. Just understanding, doesn't suffice. I will tell you something. It's more of the Indian culture, but definitely this Indian culture is evolving, is changing. I don't remember, my grandparents ever telling my parents how much they loved my parents, or in fact, even my parents, that generation, they didn't believe in verbalizing all these things. They felt that, of course, love to hai, bahut hai love, right? But today, we as parents, we have started verbalizing, we have started acknowledging, their fears. We have started acknowledging our love for them, our concerns for them. So continue to do that. Accept whatever they say. Accept, don't belittle them, don't criticize them for whatever they have said. Nothing is wrong. According to a psychologist, nothing is wrong. Everything is right in its own perspective. So accept whatever they have said. And because we are talking to adolescents, we are talking to almost grown-ups, we cannot demand, we cannot order, we just can suggest. Okay? They are grown up enough, mature enough to, understand from our suggestions and apply whatever they think is best for their life. Apart from this, as part of the daily entertainment, what we can do is we can discuss movies, we can discuss books. In fact, we can watch a particular movie together so that we have a common, ground to discuss. Or if I'm watching movie A and my kid is watching movie B, probably we may not be able to discuss. We may be only able to listen, right? Ask for help. Asking for help is a skill. So, ask for help giving choices. So what I would always suggest, that if you want to have some, you want to do some work together, like you want to do some chores together. If you could just ask your teenager that, would you like to broom or would you like to mop? So he'll say, Mama, no mopping. Okay, I'll broom the house. Okay. So you can always say that, okay, you broom the house and I will, follow you with the mop and I will mop. Chalo, let's do it together. Okay. So doing these chores together will make it very exciting. The same old mopping and brooming, but you add a little, chaat masala to it, a little zing to it. Communication style is something that is super important in having an effective communication. Having an effective communication is the primary thing. It's the key thing to have a good rapport with your child. Okay, so parents who are authoritative or who are always critical, who think that they know all the answers and they are not willing to listen to their children, somewhere they create a barrier. Somewhere they create a barrier for themselves and the communication between the kid and with themselves. So if we refrain from all these things, I think we'll have better relationship with our kid. 1 hour of skill building or webinars. Okay. Right. So as it is, we are on, the internet, on webinars, on Zoom links all the time. I would personally suggest to all the teenagers that we should have at least 1 hour of skill building. We should attend at least 1 hour of skill building every single day. It need not be academic. As an academician, I'm not trying to promote that you study for 2 hours every day. Pick up your books. Not necessary. Just go to any topic that interests you, be it science, be it mathematics, be it plants, be it forensic, be it gardening, be it soil, environment, politics, movies, anything. Okay, so just do that 1 hour of skill building webinars every day. What will happen is, end of the day, you would feel accomplished that you did something worthwhile. There is some value addition to you. There is some information addition to you that has happened, and you would feel good about your own self. Yes, I think I'm Veena. I think I'm done with my presentation. You can ask me questions, and
Sure.
if parents have any questions, we can go ahead with that.
Sure,
How much
ma'am.
time do we have? Veena?
Yeah,
How
we have time for 3 questions, ma'am. So I'll
Okay.
be clubbing few of the questions so that we save time on that side. So
Okay.
we have a question from one of our student, So she's saying, what is the gap between overall mind map of an individual and the outer instincts of people at that particular time? Is it the first instinct of an individual or some aspects added?
Okay, so it is both. It is both. So it is the first impression is number one, and based on that first impression, we try to gather information which comes from various sources. Okay, so probably a bad experience which I've had in this in a similar, not same, but a similar kind of a situation. I will suddenly link up that particular experience to my current viewing and I will relate it. For example, I'll just give you a small example. As when I put up that slide saying that A pushing B, okay, and one of our parents said that I will go ahead to find out what the matter is, right? Now, if I as a parent or I as an individual have experienced something like this before, okay, and in my previous experience, when I went to check for whatever happened or I tried to stop them from fighting, and if I was hit back saying that it is our business and you don't come in the way, okay, that particular memory becomes a part of my reality map, my perception map. And what do? I will assume for myself that, oh, if I go to help them out, I'm again going to get a slap on my face, so I better not. So what she asked was a very good question. You cannot separate it. It's all put together. It's all together.
Okay. So I hope, Meghavi, you have got your answer. So we have another question, a very interesting one and something on a serious note. One of the parent is asking that her 13-year-old son has started bedwetting, since the time lockdown has started. So that is her question, and how should she really deal with it?
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So the fact that she has clearly mentioned that it is started from the time the lockdown has started, it clearly indicates that it is situational. Right. Okay. If she wouldn't have mentioned the lockdown period, it would have become a different case. It would have become a clinical case which would have needed medical intervention at the earliest. Okay. Right. But because she mentioned it is from the time of lockdown, there could be various reasons for it. One could be that there are a lot of COVID talks that keep happening in the house, right? There could be a possibility that there could have been a COVID-19 patient in the vicinity, or there could have been a COVID-19 death in the vicinity, or there could have been a death a couple of months back, which the child, the 13-year-old boy, is trying to relate with this COVID situation. Okay. Also, it is also possible that probably generally dinner time or post dinner time, just before we sleep, that is the time when we switch on our TVs. And we like to listen to news. So while listening to the news or while having our dinner, we hear of some figures which are scary, right? Now, there are some children who are not able to express, they're not able to emote, so they think about it. And all this fear and the scare, they internalize it, right? They internalize it to the extent that they might get scary dreams at night. Right. And that could be the reason why this particular child has started bedwetting in the lockdown period. Okay. Now, certain things that we can do to avoid this is, one is that 3 hours before bedtime, minimize the intake of water. That is the basic thing. Okay. Second is that closer to the sleep time, because it is happening at bedtime, closer to the sleep time, avoid watching scary news, avoid talking about scary things. In fact, talk about happy moments, good things, and the gratitude journal that I just spoke about. So that could be a beautiful activity which can be done just before we go to sleep, and it can be done as a family activity, So it's a beautiful activity, and there are so many benefits of the gratitude journal. Yeah. So this could help. Moreover, another thing I just came to my mind is the frequency of bedwetting. So if this particular child has an episode of bedwetting for once or twice in the last 9 weeks, okay, it isn't a concern at all. Okay. Even if he is 13 years old, it is not a concern at all. The parent should follow all the little tips that I just gave, and I think it will be fine. But if this episode has been recurring like every day or every alternate day, then the parent need not worry, but definitely should be concerned about it. The parent should start looking at the tips that I have given, try it out for a week or so. Mm-hmm. If it doesn't show any positive results, then I think all the psychiatrists are seeing patients online on a video call these days, and also prescribing medication online. So if 8 to 10 days it is not working, the problem continues, then I think seeing a doctor should be the next option.
Okay. So ma'am, we have a question here. So it is something from the elder adolescents. So the question is like this: in this current scenario of job uncertainty and salary reduction and increasing prices of daily need items, how to cope with this situation and any technique? So this is a question for you. I know.
Could you repeat it, Veena, please? I'm so sorry.
Okay. So I'll repeat it. In this current scenario of job uncertainty and salary reduction and increasing prices of daily need items, how to cope with this situation and any technique that you can suggest for that?
Okay. So the first thing that I would like to tell him is that, this is a situation which all of us are experiencing, right? So, that is one point of solace, that we all are going through that, though, it doesn't reduce the severity of the situation. Second thing is, I feel that even though the salaries have reduced and there is a pay cut, etc., our expenses also have reduced. I personally am telling you, last 2 months, I don't have any credit card bill. Right? So we are not spending, we are not shopping, we are not going out on a restaurant, we are not going movies, we are not, binging on anything. Our petrol cost has come down. So even costs have come down. And however it is, whatever it is, what it is, we can't help it. At the most, what we can do is stay happy. Right? And I'm sure things are going to be, they're going to stabilize soon. This is not like, a permanent scenario, or it's not like a bomb blast which is going to take, years to recover. It's not like that. A couple of months, and we as Indians, I think we are very resilient. Even after the Taj bomb blast, next day people were up and about. They were boarding the same train, going to work, everything, life was on. So I don't think this is going to be a very, it's going to be a long haul. It's going to be not very short as well, but I think we have the capacity to deal with it. If I have answered, or...
Okay, yes, very well, ma'am. And I think it really resonates with the fact that humans are, a kind of situation that we fall into it. So if you see lockdown first, lockdown second, and lockdown 3 and 4, we are already adjusted to that situation. So we somehow, we kind of, acclimatize to the situation very well. So that was a very good answer, and I'm sure all my participants have enjoyed the session. And of course, this was a very informative session, ma'am. Very practical approach that you have given, and especially to the majority of population that we have is the adolescents. They comprise the majority of the population of India, and I'm sure they are the people who are going to take this forward. And I would just like to share even to the attendees that we have a very interesting research happening only for the teenagers as to how their personality and plays an important role. How do they handle stress and anxiety? So I'll be sharing the study Google form to all the attendees on mail after the session. And yes, so fine. So that is good, ma'am. And I really thank you from my heart, and also on behalf of Auro University. for giving us such an informative session, and we would definitely love to have you in person when we open in Surat. We would like to invite you over there. Yeah, thank you so much.
Pleasure was all mine. I'm feeling honored. Thank you so much for having me there.
Thank you, and I thank all the attendees for listening to us patiently. Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you. Bye-bye. Take care.